Hi, I'm Nick Shell with Family Friendly Daddy Blog. Yes, that's a real blog. If you Google that, you'll see an actual website that exists. This channel was meant to be an extension of that, but really we got sidetracked with all this talk about ethnicity and DNA test and MyHeritage and 23andMe. This has basically become its own thing. Now we're over 100 subscribers. Thank you for being here. Thank you for participating. And now that we're at this point, we've established what this YouTube channel by default has become about. I like to read comments that people leave and further that discussion because I think I'm only so interesting. I think for this channel to keep growing, I've got to include you. We're all in this together discussing these things about ethnicity. So with that being said, let me read a comment I got. It's a very simple one, but I did a video called MyHeritage, My Race and Ethnic Status for the U.S. Census. Our friend Jessica Perez had this to say, quote, "I'm always confused about how to answer the race question," end quote. Now, what's interesting right now, I don't know that I've mentioned on this channel, but 6 days ago, I lost my job. I'd been there for over a decade, and they just shut down the entire branch like they almost did on that episode's, or season 3 episode of The Office. They shut down the entire branch. We all lost our jobs. So I'm currently looking for jobs, and for fun, I'm shooting videos. So this is the one. I'm not watching Netflix. I'm making these videos instead. With that being said, I've had to fill out lots of forms as I've gone through temp agencies, and I've applied online for many jobs. It's interesting what keeps coming up, and they're always clear to say this is voluntary information, but they're asking what my race is and then what my ethnicity is, which are contrasting because it says, "Are you Latino?" I have to say yes. My mom's half Mexican, and then the other half, she's Sephardic Jewish and Middle Eastern. So the Sephardic Jewish default could be Spanish. So either way, on both sides of my mom's family tree there, there's Latino, and I can't deny that. And I can't not identify with that, especially growing up with a Mexican grandma in the picture. I relate to being Latino. I don't speak Spanish. But to me, that's part of my identity. So I always say, yes, I'm Latino or Hispanic, whatever is an option. And then underneath it, it'll ask, aside from, well, that was about race, it'll say. And then they have a follow-up question asking you exactly what your ethnicity is. And so there's one that says 2 or more races. So I click that. I identify as that because I've said it before, but I think races, the way that we perceive them, are a bit arbitrary. But my understanding of how I'm more than one race, my dad is Dutch German, so I'm European. And then because my mom's half Mexican, I'm also part Central American. And then because the other half, there is the Middle Eastern and Jewish, which that's where it really gets confusing to define. Well, is Middle Eastern? They can or cannot be white, depending on, are they Arabic, or sorry, I said that wrong, Arabic, or are they, we can look at a scale and figure out what is a white Middle Easterner, but it's either way, in my mind, someone who is Middle Eastern is a different race than someone who is of European descent. So either way, it's fair to say that I'm 2 or more races. And of course, my mom is like 2% African as well. So, but if we're focusing on the major divisions there in my family tree and my ethnicity, I'm 2 or more races. But I'm identifying as Latino. Now, that's only because they specifically in America make it such a big deal. They basically ask you, are you white? Are you Hispanic or Latino? Or are you black or African American? Those are the main 3 choices they give you. So by default, I just choose Latino or Hispanic, whatever the option is. That's what I've been choosing. And really, I've been doing that since high school, even before I really started understanding the details of all this. So yeah, I think it's safe to say, as our friend Jessica Perez said, well, how did she say it? I'm always confused about how to answer the race question. I think it's specifically confusing here in America. We're very confused about race here in America, especially because we've got Mexico to the south, which again, where my great-grandparents moved from. And then then there's the Spain thing, and so we're confused by all these terms. I don't think we can really agree by what it means to even be all these things. But I think it's interesting in that we want I obviously celebrate diversity in our ethnicity. That's what this channel is all about. It's about being able to celebrate that and celebrate who we are as individuals and see how we're connected, maybe in ways that we thought we weren't. It's funny. I would have never thought I was Middle Eastern, but I definitely am, and my mom definitely is, and it explains now why. She thought she was Italian, so we always said that. Turns out she's a good amount Middle Eastern, and I grew up in Alabama. Imagine growing up in Alabama and having a mom that was part Middle Eastern and part Jewish. Like, that's very ironic. Like, I love celebrating that. So, but it's funny because I definitely feel that as much as now, modern day America 2017, we're doing our best to celebrate our diversity. And then there's the political things that get in the way and complicate it. But also is the fact that our own government reinforces it when we take these surveys. They want to know what we are. So then we have to choose, even if we're not one main thing, we still have to choose what we are, and we have to arbitrarily choose an identity. So I arbitrarily choose to identify as Latino or Hispanic when it shows up, because I just feel like it's hard for me to identify as someone who's just white. Like, to me, that is betraying who I am, and it's betraying my identity and betraying everyone it took in my family history to make me me. I can't just simply say that I'm white. And that's such a generic term anyway. But I think if we were just to say European, if they were to change the word to European, even then, I still can't, in good conscience, say I'm European. Like, arguably 40% of me is. Something along those terms. But there's a lot that's not European. So, if the government will give me 3 arbitrary choices, which are basically white, black, or Hispanic, I'm actually going to go with Hispanic. To me, that somehow makes the most sense out of all of this. So yes, it's confusing, but I think it's good for us to talk this through like we are now. And if you can relate to me, please comment like Jessica did, because this is what carries this conversation on, is us telling our different takes on all this. Thanks for being a part of this, and thanks for being one of my first 100 subscribers. You're lucky. You can brag about that. When we get into the thousands, you can say, hey, I was one of the first 100.